Well, ICASA issued a shock proposal to cut the cost of terminating a call from one network to another by 75%, phased in over 3 years. Now, this may be good news for the South African consumer, but not for mobile operators. Spiwe Chireka, IT analyst at IDC, joins us now for more. Spiwe, taking a look at the announcement being made there by the ICASA. Naturally, investors taking it negatively and moving the share price with regard to Vodacom as well as MTN, and Telkom getting a boost. But the big question is, will we see a benefit for South African consumers?
Well, not necessarily. It's not as obvious as it might seem, because if we look at since the last termination cut, it took a while before we started seeing real termination cuts, seeing as some of the service providers introduce all flat tariffs throughout their offerings, which is something that we're actually looking for. So at the moment, consumer prices have not necessarily moved in line with termination rates, and we taking, call it a skeptical view going forward, and expecting that the movement won't be as, it will be more or less like what we've seen so far.
So it's more the allowing the smaller players, that's what Alan Craig was suggesting to us anyway, to become more competitive. Yes,
definitely. So the idea is to say, well, we've got the smaller players, and when we look at how much they need to pay in termination rates versus what they receive, then there's a bit of an imbalance there, because the majority of the subscribers are sitting on the competitors' networks. So the idea is to really create a more level playing ground, or to give the smaller operators a chance to compete more effectively against the bigger operators.
That also brings us to the topic of asymmetry, where the bigger mobile operators have to contribute to helping the small guys out. My thinking is, if I'm a Vodacom shareholder or MTN, why would I want to help the competition out? Alec, it doesn't make sense though.
Well, they aren't. They're screwing the competition over. I mean, they're giving the competition a good hiding, aren't they?
Yes, yes.
Because of unfair.
Yes, and that is where the regulator comes in. Because if we left, termination rates and tariffs to, call it, the competitive forces to determine it, then definitely no one would want to help out the competition. But this is where ICASA comes in, because their role is to create an environment that creates, a fair playing ground. And yes, others might be happy about it, but then you also have those that will be unhappy about it.
We've seen the share prices react quite aggressively. MTN and Vodacom down a lot in the last day and a half. Telkom continues its rise upwards. We did mention earlier that Telkom is so small, its market cap now is such a fraction of the bigger ones. A 2% increase in the share price of MTN is sufficient to take care of the doubling in the share price of Telkom. But has the market got this one right?
Well, I guess with Telkom, since the entry of the new CEO and the announcements that they've made, and the whole plans they have around turning the company around, I think it has created a degree of confidence, or at least we're hoping that or everything they've promised will pan out. So given what they're trying to do and what they've announced they'll be doing, then it does make sense for confidence to go up. On the MTN and Vodacom side, I think a 10 cents termination rate is enough to scare anybody. And it does seem quite drastic that it is going down to 10 cents. But we have confidence that for ICASA to come up with that rate, it means they've done the background work, they've done the math, they know that it could work. So it is very scary to be moving from 75 cents termination to 10 cents termination rate, because what that means is that there will be now pressure on the MTNs and Vodacoms to justify why they're still charging high tariffs. So overall, then they'll have to reduce the tariffs, and which could affect the top line.
And the consumers are going to benefit.
Exactly. Well, we hope so, but naturally their revenue income streams will be under pressure, Alec. And I'm thinking, won't that make my data more expensive, or my core connection costs even more expensive? They clearly need to make up for that loss somewhere.
Just have a look at what's happened in the marketplace. And I know from personal experience, I was paying 1,600 Rand a month with Vodacom. Got the same service from Cell C at 699. That's the reality, nearly 1,000 Rand difference. And that's what competition does.
Yes. So the idea is to create a situation whereby, first of all, the termination rates are so low that like I said, it will be pressure on Vodacom and MTN to justify why are we still charging 3 Rand, 4 Rand a minute, or 2 Rand 50, even 1 Rand 50 will become difficult to justify, which is where the consumer then benefits, because now the pressure is no longer coming from the regulator or anyone else, it is from the customers themselves to say, tell me why I have to pay this much money. And then at the same time, it also allows your Cell Cs, telcos, the smaller players, to now compete on price. where they can actually go in and say, well, we can give it to you for 30 cents a minute, etc.
Oh, we'd like that. So we'd be happy with that. But Alec, you recall yesterday we mentioned some of the ancillary companies that might benefit from this, Blue Label Telecoms being one of them. On the market, investors haven't reacted to that news. Blue Label, they sell or transfer airtime and allow that to happen. How will they benefit? And the likes of Huge Group and maybe even Altron.
Right. So I think from a perspective of, increased traffic, because, if it's cheaper, then you actually are able to make more calls. And I think I just want to touch on the fact you said, how will they make up for it? So usually the idea is as the tariffs get lower, people phone a little bit more, and then therefore the traffic actually makes up for the lower tariffs and, the lower revenue that's coming in. So that is usually the scenario that you're hoping for. Although a service provider has to do the math, like how much can we reduce it before it becomes, an expense to us to do it. So I think with the airtime companies, etc., bottom line is people will always still need to phone, and therefore definitely they will still benefit.
And the volumes will give them the kicker that they're hoping for.
Yes.
Just to close off with Telkom, there's a lot of promise in the share price at the moment. How high would you put the chances of it being transformed to reality?
Like in terms of their
delivery.
Well, like since now there's been a change in management and there's been a restructure in the company, so we've always stated that one of the things about Telkom is that they've got the best strategies, the best plans, and actually on paper they should be doing way better than what their books reveal. So it's always been about the implementation and the delivery of it. Now seeing that they've made changes to the chief operating officer and around that side of things, we do hoping that with the changes then we will start to see more
But
delivery.
they've made changes before.
Yes, they have. But it's always looking out to be better every time. So again, we're hoping that they will do it better.
Spiro, 10 seconds to answer this one,
Yes.
but what do you make of ICASA as a regulator in the industry? Are they doing a good job, or has this been a long time coming?
It's been a long time coming, and at the end of the day, even with the termination rates, we do hope that there will be something coming out of be it the DOC or ICASA that will ensure that consumer rates move at the same rate as the termination rates, because we don't want a situation like last time where you've got a termination cut and then it's only 12, 18 months later that you see a proper, real consumer tariff cut. So in that area, still some areas that they could intervene a bit more, but I guess this is a step in the right direction.